Hey, it's Mara! Come closer! Hi everyone, my name's Mara. I'm the activity coordinator for the Panda Care Center of Hope. Today we are here at the Field Museum in the Reptiles Alive exhibit to get a special tour from my friend Sara, and she is going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about the exhibit.
Thanks, Mara. I'm Sara Ruane, and I am the curator of reptiles and amphibians here at the Field Museum. And that means that I study reptiles and amphibians all around the world. And in particular, the animals I'm most excited about learning about are always snakes. And snakes tend to be a little unpopular. Not everybody loves them. But I'm hoping that today, by showing you just how cool they are, that everybody can get a little more appreciation for them and also for reptiles in general. And ever since I was a little kid, I used to love going out with my grandparents and going out in the woods for walks where we'd flip over rocks, flip over logs, see what was underneath them. And I was always really excited when it was something like a salamander or a snake. And that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to see a bunch of these animals and learn all about their natural history. I want to tell you a little bit about some of my favorite animals in the world, some of my favorite reptiles.
Okay.
So a lot of the research I do is on animals in Madagascar.
Okay.
And Madagascar has some of the coolest lizards in the entire world. And so we've got here leaf-tailed geckos. There are 4 of them in this enclosure. And these leaf-tailed geckos, during the day when they are trying to hide from predators, they're sleeping, they look just like a piece of bark, like a branch just stuck up against the side of a tree. And if you look at the one that's right here, what you'll notice is one, he's getting ready to shed his skin. And so reptiles shed their skin in order to grow. They eat. And as they get bigger and bigger and bigger inside of themselves, what they end up doing is they're almost bursting out of their skin because their skin doesn't really grow with them. So they have to create a new skin that's a little looser underneath the old one. And then once it's time, that old skin sheds off and the new one can fill out with a little bit of extra space. And they grow into that one and they continue this their whole life.
How often are they shedding? How much do they grow?
So that's a great question. So just like a lot of animals, the babies grow fast, right? They're growing every day. It's like somebody saying you've already outgrown your shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So quickly. But as they get older, they focus their energy on other things. So they focus their energy on finding mates. They focus their energy not so much on getting bigger, but on making babies.
Okay.
And so as they get older, they're shedding because their growth slows down, but they never stop. Reptiles have what is called indeterminate growth.
Wow.
They grow their whole lives, but it gets really, 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 really slow as they get older and older and older.
So how old are these geckos?
So these geckos are all mature adults. I mentioned earlier I was saying he, but all 4 of the geckos in here are actually she's.
Okay.
And these ones are adults, and so my guess would be they're over 5 years, but they're probably not 30 years old. And one of the other things I want to point out when we're looking at the reptiles in these exhibits is the habitats that they're in aren't just random. Each background that you see with the animals is a real place where these animals live in the wild. And so this particular background that I chose for this enclosure when we were putting the exhibit together is from a place in northern Madagascar called Nasi Bay. And in that area, you've got these geckos, but you've also got another animal that we're going to talk a little bit about, which are panther chameleons. So right here we have one of my favorite animals, not just from Madagascar, but in the entire world. We've got a really cool panther chameleon. And so panther chameleons are found only in Madagascar. This is a male panther chameleon. His name is Sakai, which is a kind of hot sauce that is made and found only in Madagascar as well. And so when you think about chameleons, one of the things people instantly think is, oh, they change color. That's so cool. And it is so cool. But when you are looking at this lizard, you'll notice that he's got a lot of other really cool adaptations that help him live in trees. These lizards are entirely arboreal. They really try not to come down on the ground very often. And some of the adaptations that let them do a really good job at living in trees include their tail, which is prehensile, like a monkey. It can wrap its tail around anything, a branch, Brenna's hand. This is Brenna right here, our zookeeper that comes and takes care of all the animals. And also you notice the feet on this chameleon. These feet have a special funny word called zygodactylic. And what it really just means is their toes are fused together so that they can grasp onto branches really, really well. One of the other things you'll notice is that the chameleon's eyes are on these little turrets that move around. And these eyes can move independently of each other. They don't have to both be looking at the same place at the same time. And last but not least, although you can't see this chameleon's tongue is basically as long as his entire body. And it's all wrapped up inside his mouth. And when he sees a cockroach, a moth, something that looks good to eat, zaps that tongue out, and it can go up to a foot to go and grab what it is he's trying to eat and drag it back into his mouth where he chomps it up and chews it up. So, Brenna, I was going to ask you, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about this chameleon in particular and just how lucky we are to have him out today because he's a little bit temperamental.
He is. This is one of our newest additions to the zoo, actually. We got him just in the last 2 years, and it was a really awesome addition for me because I absolutely love chameleons as well.
So cool.
So it was really awesome to have panther chameleons. We have 2 of them. But this one specifically got to have the privilege of coming out and living in Chicago for a whole year, so he gets to be with us today. And it is really special that he's out right now. They are not the most handleable species just because we don't want to stress them out. They're very temperamental with their humidity and their temperature, and they need the exact conditions to be able to thrive. So they're usually not as handleable as him, but he is doing an excellent job. He is a very well-behaved chameleon, and he is very, very happy to be showing off all of these awesome adaptations that he has that you were talking about.
And would you say this is his normal color, or what colors does this chameleon tend to be?
He tends to be this like cooler, like blue and green when he's kind of just like hanging out if he's just in the trees. But when it's feeding time or if he's feeling especially spicy, he will be a little brighter. He will get like this bright red and you won't see any of those blues or greens. You'll only see red on him.
A lot of times people think that chameleons change color to match their environment and to camouflage. But chameleons also change color really based on how they're feeling.
Yes.
Right? It's a real mood. It's like a mood ring.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Right? It's a mood indicator. Yeah, chameleons can be really hard to keep as pets just because those requirements you talked about. But they sure are cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
How often does Sakai get crickets?
So he eats, usually I try to give him a variety of insects. So we'll give him roaches, we'll give him mealworms, superworms, crickets and things like that. And then sometimes we will offer him a rodent as well. It's just like a little extra.
Living on the edge.
Yeah, I know. So he just got his rodent we do it every Monday. We have Rodent Eater Monday, which is the first Monday of every month. So even the geckos will get a little special treat. But he eats every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Why is it important that he doesn't just eat insects and occasionally gets this little rodent?
It's important not only just for like the calcium and for the extra nutrients that he might need. I don't even know where you're going right now.
He's
But
welcome to come over this way.
it's really, really important for not only the dietary and nutritional aspects, but like for enrichment as well. So that way he's not just getting the same thing. I mean,
Boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. We all get sick of eating the same thing over and over and over, and there's no reason he'd be any different.
yeah, and they are opportunistic sometimes, so it's good for him. Even Guanji, which we'll be seeing soon, he likes to have a little rodent on top of his salad every month.
All right, really cool. Thanks for taking him out for us, Brenna. Thank you, Sakai. So right here we've got Guanji, the Cuban rock iguana, who is chowing down.
He's got a nice snack here.
He's got a little snack. Guanji didn't want to hang out with us unless we gave him food. He had better things to do. Oh, but I don't have it. It's on the floor.
It's over here.
So Guanji is, you'll notice when he's walking around, or even when he's eating, he's often flicking his tongue out. And so just like a snake that's out there smelling the air and trying to figure out what the odors are around that might be interesting, Guanji's doing the same thing when you see him flick his tongue out. And he's all the odor molecules that are in the air, kind of like our sense of smell. He can smell if there's some fruit, like these apples, and he also uses his eyes, but he initially might be able to smell something before he sees it. So it could be food, it could be a lady iguana. You can see there he's flicking his tongue a little bit.
Guanji.
He's trying to get that apple down. It's probably
yeah.
sitting a little bit in his throat.
Does he have teeth?
Yeah. Iguanas have teeth. Lizards in general, they all have teeth. So some lizards like Komodo dragons that will chase down and hunt prey, have much bigger, sharper teeth. Guanji is primarily going to be eating plants, fruits, vegetable matter. He's a bit more vegetarian, but he still sometimes likes to eat something like a baby bird that he might find, or a small rodent, things like that. So mostly vegetarian, but he has his moments.
Does Guanji get a special rodent on the first Monday of the month also?
Yeah, I knew Brenna was going to be able to know. So Brenna, as she said, yeah, Guanji gets a special rodent. Rodent Mondays, they're called?
Rodent Eater Monday.
Rodent Eater Monday. And iguanas in the wild are not so tolerant of humans. They would not allow you to get up close like we can with Guanji. But Guanji's really used to people. And he actually seems to really like hanging out with people.
How old is Guanji?
Guanji is 38 years old. So he is not a young man. He is in his prime, I guess, right?
He's an older gentleman.
He's an older gentleman, but not that 38 is old.
Does he have toenails? Or they just claws?
Yeah, he has nails. He has nails. And so some species of iguanas are fairly arboreal, especially when they're younger. They'll climb up into trees, and so they can use those claws, those nails to do that. Cuban rock iguanas, as their name might imply, spend a lot of time sitting on rocks. And so they're not really arboreal, especially a big adult, but they'll still maybe climb a little bit into some scrubs, some bushes.
Very cool.
Yes, I would say he's really the star of the show. Oh, he's showing off now. So, one of the things when we were putting this exhibit together that I really wanted to emphasize is that you don't have to leave Illinois or even the Chicago region, let alone the United States, to see amazing reptiles right outside your door.
Oh, wow.
So we have a whole section in the exhibit that's really specific to temperate regions. So North American, especially US animals. So that includes a nice selection from animals you can find in Illinois, like the soft-shelled turtle that we have right here, as well as some other animals that we're going to show you. But just around Chicago, there's nearly, 20 species of snakes. There's tons and tons and tons of diversity you can see without really having to travel too far at all. So no need to go to the rainforest. You can go right outside in your backyard and see really cool reptiles.
What is the most common reptile in Chicago?
So probably, brown snakes are extremely common. They're a really small snake that you would find underneath a piece of cardboard, some trash on the side of the road. Also, there's some really common turtles, like painted turtles, that you can see in almost any body of water. Also, red-eared sliders, which are another kind of turtle that you might see very frequently. And then there's animals that are common, but you don't see them as much. Animals like snapping turtles, which spend most of their time underwater. You've also got garter snakes, another really common species of snakes that we have right here in the exhibit, so we can show you one of those as well.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
And this guy, he's soft-shelled. Are they more common in Chicago, or this just happens to be one that we have here?
So soft-shell turtles live all over the United States. They also live in other parts of the world, particularly in Asian countries such as China. But we have soft shells in the U.S. And soft-shell turtles, you don't see them too often because they spend most of their time underwater. You'll notice this turtle has a really pointy snout. We call it a snorkel nose. And that means that what this turtle can do is bury himself in some mud or in some sand, and he sits there and he just raises his head out and gets his nose out of the water so he can breathe. So even though these turtles live in the water, they still breathe air just like we do.
Wow. And does he swim all the time, or does he ever perch up on his little
He
stand?
sometimes rests, but he doesn't come out of the water as often as some other turtles do. He's very aquatic, and he feels most comfortable, most safe, most secure when he is in the water.
Very cool.
Yeah, he is awesome. So I think what we'll do is we'll take a look at some of the other reptiles that you can find right in Illinois.
Perfect.
Awesome. So one of the coolest things we have here in the exhibit is not just one animal in an enclosure, but two.
Roommates.
Roommates, exactly, roommates. So people don't always realize that a lot of reptiles can coexist quite happily with each other because they are not predators of each other. They're not necessarily eating the same food. So one example we have here is a copperhead snake, which is in fact a venomous snake, but it lives quite happily with an eastern box turtle. And so they share the same enclosure and they get along pretty great. They mostly just ignore each other. And so what we're looking at here, in here, is a very young box turtle. He's sitting there poking his head out.
And what does the turtle eat?
So box turtles are going to eat things like earthworms. They're going to eat slugs. They're going to eat mushrooms. They're going to eat berries. They're going to eat anything that seems like a good tasting fruit that they might find in the wild. They love to eat different kinds of fruits. Vegetables, not as much, maybe, but they're definitely omnivores. And so they like a little bit of everything.
Cool.
And then the copperheads can be so hard to see in the wild because the coloration of them matches the kinds of leaves that they like to hang out in the forest. And so copperheads are not found right around Chicago, but they are found in southern Illinois and in other parts of the United States. And although they are venomous, they are very shy. They never approach people. They never try to have contact with people. And their venom, as far as humans are concerned, is actually quite mild.
Okay.
Not that you wouldn't go to the hospital. You would need to go and get treated.
But you'd be okay?
You would be okay. You need medical treatment to make sure. But their venom doesn't work so well on humans because they're not interested in eating humans. So it's not very effective.
I was going to say, they seem a little small to be interested in humans.
Yeah, this one is a pretty young one. This is a juvenile, so they do get quite a bit larger than this little guy does.
Okay.
And in the wild, one of the things that this snake would do is it would eat a lot of animals that we don't necessarily want around in high numbers at least.
Okay.
It's going to be things like rodents, right? So you think about something like deer mice,
Okay.
which carry ticks, and those ticks can carry Lyme disease. And one of the favorite things for something like this copperhead to eat in the wild is going to be deer mice. And so by eating those mice, we're keeping the mouse population under control. We're not having as many mice maybe coming into human areas. We're not having as many ticks come into contact with humans. And so that can be really helpful. It's natural biological control of things that humans don't like.
He's doing us a favor.
He's doing us a huge favor. And so one of the reasons I always tell people, you don't have to love snakes necessarily, but they're doing a really, really important service to us when they're out there eating things like deer mice that carry diseases like Lyme disease, or bubonic plague is also transmitted via mouse vectors. A lot of things, hantavirus. There are a lot of bad things you can get from rodents, and so snakes are really our friends, and they don't want to bother people.
We should all be friends with snakes.
We should all be friends with snakes if we can, or we should appreciate them from a distance.
I think that's where I'm
That's totally great too, right? You don't have to be their best friends. You
Appreciate
don't have to be
them
their roommate.
through the glass.
Exactly. Nothing wrong with that. So one thing that's really crazy, well, I don't know if it's crazy, but it's crazy if you keep reptiles as pets, particularly snakes. A lot of snakes have heat sensing pits. So copperheads are one of the kinds of snakes that do. They're a kind of pit viper. And the pit refers to a hole in the side of their face. And what that hole does is it detects all the heat in the environment and gives the snake an infrared image in its brain. So Terminator style, or Predator or Alien, any of these kinds of movies where you see this infrared vision. And so the snake has this hole, detecting heat, sees thermal images, and it's using that to find food because it likes to eat things that are warm-blooded. Mice, small mammals, maybe birds. What that means is that when you're keeping an animal like this in captivity, to accommodate its natural behaviors, you actually have to warm up the food so that it sees it properly. So the snake does use its tongue, it does use its eyes, but it also is looking for that thermal image, that thermal sensing, so that it can really accurately grab what it is it wants to eat.
Okay, so Brenna's probably warming up
She's
his
probably
breakfast.
warming up the breakfast for Ernie here. Ernie the copperhead.
Well, Sara, thank you so much for having us and touring us around Reptiles Alive. It was so awesome, and I feel like I know everything about reptiles now.
Well, so happy to have you here. So excited to get a chance to tell you about how cool and amazing reptiles are. And so I hope you want to learn more about them.
I definitely do. Thank you so, so much.
Our pleasure.